So we launched our fractional CMO services about 3 years ago at BroadBased, and this year we've really seen it take off as one of the go-to strategies for our clients. And I think the biggest reason why is because the model just provides so much value for the way that companies, want to have and manage their relationship with their marketing agencies now. So I put together this guide. I wanted to kind of walk through what a fractional CMO is and kind of how our services work and why it's a little bit different. So go ahead and start with a table of contents. So first, we're going to define what a fractional CMO is. Then we're going to talk about why you need one. Then we're going to talk about why our fractional CMO solution is a little bit different. Then kind of run through some case studies and talk about next steps. So, fractional CMO or FCMO, works with senior management to set strategy, guide processes, and execution, but it's done in a part-time capacity. So it's a fractional capacity. So some of the services they provide, most importantly, is a C-level expertise. So this is an area where, a CMO really has a level of expertise along with, other key, C-level positions like COO or CFO, and has deep expertise and can really, provide that level of leadership. Is an executive. So it's someone who's experienced in, managing teams and being held accountable to very high level objectives for the company that often involve revenue goals, which, sometimes those mid-level marketing positions aren't responsible for revenue, whereas the CMO is that's something they oversee. And then cost effectiveness. So a big part of why this model is so successful is because in comparison to kind of a traditional CMO, there is a lot of cost savings that can be realized. So the biggest thing that a successful and effective fractional CMO does is integrate into the client's business and functions as a trusted advisor to the leadership team. So what we mean by this is, it's that kind of seat at the table, right? Where there's other decisions, critical decisions that get made in an organization, and you want to have the insight and advice from that CMO, and we're able to provide that in a fractional capacity. And it allows you to get as much or as little leadership as you want for your marketing department, and you don't have to worry about long-term contracts, and you're only paying for the services that you're actually having delivered. So, question becomes, why do you need one? So, a full-time CMO, if you were to hire in-house, it's a pretty considerable investment based on ZipRecruiter's numbers. We're looking at almost $300,000 in salary. And of all CMOs, 70% it's their first time in that position, which that's according to Spencer Stewart. So, in order to get, an experienced, seasoned C-level type of marketing executive, there's a strong chance that, the one you're going to get has not been in that seat before. Obviously, with any new hire, particularly, at the executive level, there's a risk of short tenure, which means, that investment that you're putting into that hire could potentially, leave the company, and that would obviously not be a good investment. And then the idea of the unbalanced workload. So this goes back to, do most companies have a full-time need for a CMO? Because if you hire one full-time, you're paying whether they're delivering those services or not. So these are the things to consider. And the fractional CMO model really solves this because, especially at broad-based, we have retainers as low as $3,200 a month, where we can really provide value and leadership, and help make a meaningful impact on your marketing team, for a price point that's obviously very affordable in comparison to a full-time salary. My business partner and I have over 50 years experience at the C level with marketing. So again, you don't have the concern of, either has this person ever done this before if you were to hire full time, or if they have, how long did they do it for? There's a guaranteed level of commitment. So in all of our agreements, the time is guaranteed that we're going to spend on your projects and on our relationship. We have very detailed time tracking measures so you can see where the time's being spent, what it's being spent on. And then we can customize the strategies based on your specific needs. So again, that kind of helps with the idea of balancing the workload. So if you have a very, clear understanding of exactly the time you need spent on these various initiatives, we can build a strategy that's kind of tailored for that. So some of the biggest things that we're able to provide in that fractional capacity is ROI tracking. So again, this is something that we really, kind of cracked the code on this last year. One of our clients really, was feeling pressure that they had to, be able to see down to the tactic, both digital and traditional, of what tactics were yielding the highest return based on the budget that they were investing in them. And we partnered with an AI firm and were able to provide, that process so that we could look at the new customer list. We can merge that against all of the tracking data that we have from the conversion side, both, like I say, on the website and offline. So if we were doing direct mail or, in-person events, we had some mechanisms in place where we could track that very closely to be able to show them exactly, what's paying off, what maybe could be improved, and if we wanted to go ahead and just pause things that weren't performing. So this is a key feature that again, that kind of C-level experience can provide. So analytics, marketing data is exploding. Just year after year, we see statistics showing that there's just more and more data available to us than ever before with all the different analytic tools that are out there, and it can be overwhelming. And that's where a fractional CMO can help interpret that data, analyze that data, and be able to create meaningful action out of that data. Personally, I'm certified in Google Analytics and several other platforms, HubSpot being one of them. And this is a key area that we're able to provide value for companies. And KPI dashboards, so very similar to the analytics, right? So we have all this data, we know what the KPIs are. How are we able to visually show that to leadership in a way that makes sense and really kind of spells out the wins, and also, if there's areas that need to be improved, it'll show in very clear ways why they need to be improved, and how severe a potential problem might be. So these dashboards, there's a lot of different software tools available, and it's really just a matter of, choosing the one that makes the most sense for how you're specifically set up in your marketing team. So strategy, we've always been a very strategic firm, and this is an area where, especially big companies, they just have so many tactics. They're doing so much marketing, and it's could potentially be an issue where all of that's not consistent and all of it doesn't align with key messages, and the campaign goals and objectives that have been set up. So this is an area where we can come in a fractional basis, and be able to provide that high level strategy and oversight to our clients. So we make sure there's no misalignment, and all the campaigns are optimized, and everyone's singing from the same sheet of music. So, and then finally, training. So this is an area, again, I personally enjoy. I've done, LinkedIn trainings for our B2B clients. I've done some analytic trainings for clients, again, that have those huge data sources. And this is an area where, if you don't have that, you may have really good talent internally on your marketing team, but they may not have experience training. So this is an area where, we can come in as an objective, third party, and really partner with your team and kind of show them the ropes and make sure that they're getting the most out of the tools they're using, as well as, helping create those processes and best practices to build those efficiencies, which obviously leads to revenue in the end. So how's BroadBased different? So we were founded in 1996 by my business partner Jane Hirabayashi, and again, the two of us have over 50 years combined experience. Some of the bigger clients we've worked with locally, I've included, as well as throughout the country. And really, I think one of the biggest advantages you get when you work with us, especially in a fractional basis, is all the different industry experience we have, that we can kind of bring to the table to help. Which again, it's really good to have like specific industry experience, obviously in whatever industry you're in. But there are other lessons that can be learned in some industries that might be kind of adjacent to what you're doing. So we're very easy to do business with. That's something that we really go out of our way to be able to adapt to different teams, and work and play well with others. And that's kind of been one of the things that we've been told by our clients that they really appreciate about working with us. So I'm going to run through some case studies. So this is, we talked earlier about ROI tracking. So this is a sample ROI report, and you can see down to the tactic, both digital as well as offline, how we're able to report on ROI. And you can look at this investment, so just under $600,000, and we were able to return just about 3.3 million, which is 449%. So these are very strong numbers. Again, this involves some pretty deep discovery on understanding the lifetime value of what a new piece of business is for any different company, the services that are offered that contribute to that profitability, and then being able to build the model to where we know what we're investing in these various tactics, and kind of matching all that up with your new clients that you're acquiring. So. So again, this is a sample marketing strategy. So we mentioned that's one of the key components of our fractional services. We can provide, 6 month, 12 month, 18 month integrated marketing strategies that really lay out, you can see here, I know it's kind of small, but month by month, week by week, the various tactics that are being executed. And all of this rolls up into, to make sure that it aligns with those key messages and the objectives for, these individual marketing tactics. So this is another key area that we can provide a lot of value for companies that may be overwhelmed by a lot of what they're seeing with, they have so many tactics going on simultaneously. We're able to kind of make sense of that and make sure everything's accounted for. So here's some tracking. So we mentioned earlier about analytics. This is an area where we can track just about everything now, especially on the digital side, which is certainly my area of experience and expertise. And this is an example from our call tracking software. So you can see this was from last year. So early in the year, we launched several initiatives for this particular client, and you can see almost immediately the impact that it had. And I mean, this is really the tip of the iceberg. So this, our call tracking software, it's a very dynamic software that has, numbers that get replaced on the fly. There's a lot of AI components in terms of transcribing these phone calls so we can, gauge the sentiment of the call without having to listen to just hours and hours of recordings, and kind of really pull out all that really valuable insight from the calls, both from, this can be lead conversion, this can be customer satisfaction, and this can also be customer support. So there's a lot of ways that we can leverage these technologies, provide these analytics to our clients. And again, as a fractional CMO, this can really be a game changer, for your marketing team to be able to have this kind of data. So next steps, if this seems like it's a fit, I put a QR code up here and also listed my contact information on this side. Typically, we operate in a very, basic, casual manner in terms of just having a conversation to get an idea of what your specific needs are. Maybe show you some of the, similar client engagements that we have. And if we determine that it's a fit, we'll talk about our next steps. So appreciate you watching and look forward to hearing from you.